Om Shanti. Good morning. The topic this morning is unlimited freedom, and Sangam Yoga is unique, Baba is unique, and so all the definitions that we have in Sangam Yoga become different and unique. And so this morning's Murli and the way in which Baba was defining thoughts and actions and bondage and freedom, all very, very different to the way in which we used to see things, either in Kali Yuga, but also different to how we'll see things in Satyuga. And so Sangam Yoga is a very unique space of time in which everything is completely different. And so freedom in Kali Yuga. There was an interesting comment that somebody made the other day, that before they had found Baba, or Baba had found them, they'd been in a situation where they thought, while you're young, you live fast, you eat fast, you drink fast, you die young, and you die beautifully, and your corpse is beautiful also. And they thought that that was freedom. That was their definition of freedom. To be able to do what I want, when I want, how I want, come and go, and Kali Yuga. And you see that happening in the world around you all the time. And then they found themselves locked up in jail, because obviously they were doing things that were not quite as they should be legally. And they asked themselves, well, here I thought I was pursuing freedom, and I'm not going to get any younger, and I thought, okay, to die young was a great aim to have, but I'm getting older, and I'm not getting the freedom that I wanted. And so what's gone wrong? And they started to pray. They'd never thought of prayer before, but locked up in a jail in the UK, it's a good place to start. And so they started to pray, and they started to read books in the prison library on self-development and so on. And by the time they came out, the only place where the council could put them, they had no job, no money, no home, no nothing. And so the only place where the council could put them was this homeless hostel, which happened to be on Pound Lane. Some of you know where Baba's house in London is. It's on Pound Lane. And just 200 yards down the road is where they got a room, the only bed in London available for the homeless that night. And they found themselves in front of Baba's house and walked in and discovered what is true freedom. So that's an extreme case, but it indicates the sort of things that we thought were freedom. Let me do what I want. And very much the modern world, the materialistic world, is based on that principle. They used to say, well, that's the Western philosophy of life, but look at what's going on in India or in most other parts of the world today, whether it's Africa or Asia, and it's this: I want to do when I want, what I want. And it hasn't actually given us the experience of freedom in the way that we wanted. In that when there's freedom, there's joy, you can fly. Some of you could understand the lyrics of the song that were being played just as we were meditating. And it was about a bird being able to fly, and how the soul is the bird, and I have to fly. And so that experience of freedom, to be able to have total choice and to be able to fly, well, where you thought that you had freedom, you land up in all sorts of bondages, logic and worldly and internally, emotionally, all sorts of ways. And you come to Baba, and Baba shows you what is true freedom. And Baba explains that it sounds a little bit of a paradox at first, but it's the only way, that you can't be free just because you do the things that you want to do. Why? Because the way my mind has been working in Kali Yuga is according to my old sanskars of Kali Yuga. It's according to the negative influences of Kali Yuga. It's according to the bondage of the vices. It's the influence of all sorts of negativity working on my mind. And so all the thoughts that come up in my mind, and I think that, well, this is what I'd like to do, this is what I want to do, and I follow all those things, but I find myself in more bondage than ever before. And so it doesn't actually give me the experience that I was looking for. And so instead of Manmat, the directions of my own mind, in contrast to that comes Srimat. And when you first find Baba and you hear about Srimat, some people feel that, yes, these are the things that I'd been looking for, and now finally I found confirmation. Many years ago, somebody had taken the course, and at the end of the course, I was asking them their experience, and they said to me, "It's beautiful. God agrees with the way I think." And what they meant was that, brought up in Christianity, the way that they'd been taught and the way that they were thinking were quite different. And then they'd been wandering around spiritually, not physically, and wondering, who agrees with the things that I feel, the things that I know by instinct? And nobody was in agreement. Everybody else had different ideas. And then they came to Baba, and the things that Baba was saying were actually the things they'd been thinking. So they were very happy that God agreed with them. And some of you might have felt that also, that yes, the things of my heart, those are the things that Baba's telling me. But when you heard about Srimat, what was the feeling then? Was it that these are the things of my heart, and yes, somebody agrees with me? Or is it that there's a feeling that, well, Baba's telling me to do this, but my own mind is still saying, I want to do that. And so what is freedom? You know this word, Raksha Bandhan. I think most of you are familiar with this term. And it means protection, Raksha, and Bandhan, the bondage. And then the explanation that Baba gives us for this is that when you're ready to put yourself in bondage to God, you experience protection. And through that you experience liberation and freedom. And so a little bit that idea that Srimat, the things that Baba's telling me, at times maybe that feels that, well, my mind is saying, I'd like to do this, but this is what Srimat is saying, and so how do I match it up? And then the way to work it out is to see, well, I've been following the dictates of my mind for not just this birth, but for many births, and where has that brought me? And if I now want something else, if I want to stay there, that's fine, I can choose to do that. But if I want something else, then that something else has to be not the dictates of my mind. Then that has to be the instructions of God. And so when I'm ready to surrender my own mind to God, I begin to understand what is freedom. Again, it's a paradox. Normally in the Lokik world, when you surrender, you put yourself in bondage to somebody and they have a hold over you. That's not considered freedom. It's not. Somebody else is controlling you. And so you chafe at that and you want to break free. But when it's God, and God is offering you total freedom, then the way to total freedom is total surrender. And it's not going to be possible to experience unlimited freedom unless there is the unlimited surrender first. I found today's Murli very, very powerful and very, very beautiful. And I suppose most times we'll say that whichever day is a Murli that you hear, that's the one that's beautiful. And I know that tomorrow night when we hear Baba, we'll say, that's the most powerful, the most beautiful, which is as it should be, that every day whatever Baba is sharing is powerful and beautiful and what we need. But today's was particularly relevant in the sense of what's happening with the human mind, what's happening with thoughts, what's happening with actions, and how it is Baba shows you something that's quite different to the way that you've normally been thinking and behaving. And so Baba's showing us how to actually reach that state in which the soul has settled all the accounts that it had, not just with human beings, but even with its own body. It's been able to break free from all negativity. It's been able to settle all those influences and come to the state of that pure freedom in which, when you think about an angel or a bird, you think about two wings. And the two wings that epitomize freedom, whether the freedom of the bird that's flying or the angel that's protecting, truth and love. And again, they're two sides of the same spectrum. When you think about love, then just pure love, and it's open, it's unconditional, and it's got no limits to it. And truth. Well, how do you reconcile truth and love? In the sense that sometimes truth is associated with the law. Sometimes truth is associated with that which is very precise and defined. It's not unconditional. You know, there's a strange thought that people have today in the world. And they say, well, whatever you think, whatever you feel, if that's how you feel, it's good, it's true, and it must be right. Correct? Correct? Not correct. It's that sort of thinking and saying that's created the mess of Kali Yuga that we find ourselves in which there's no law, there's no discipline, and we're completely lost in the fog of illusion, and we're very far away from truth. And so truth is quite precise. It's not unconditional. It's quite defined. And Baba is the only one who can actually explain to us what the truth is. And as we connect with Baba, and today Baba was speaking very much of the love and also of the happiness that you feel as God's child. But together with that, Baba was talking about the student being able to reveal the teacher, the master. And so as I understand the truth that Baba is sharing through the teachings, and I begin to follow that truth, and I begin to imbibe that truth in my life, those are the wings with which I can fly to total freedom. On the one side, love, yes, it's unconditional and totally open, but on the other side, there's truth. There's absolute strength and power within that. And then the soul, with the balance of both of these, can fly together. Today, Baba also mentioned the different goddesses and the images of the mother. But I think it was last Sunday that Baba spoke of two different aspects, which again seemed contradictory. Baba spoke about Shitla and also about Kali. And it's connected with this whole thing about truth and love, because sometimes we mix up these stages of Shitla and Kali, where instead of being Kali for the self, in the sense of having the power in which I kill all the demons inside, I want to be strict and authoritarian with others around me. And Shitla, the one who with coolness and sweetness, but the coolness is the coolness of purity. And so when there is that coolness and sweetness, then that's the experience in terms of relationships and how I deal with others. And so Kali for myself and Shitla for others, and not the other way around, where I become Shitla for myself, totally easy and relaxed and cool, it's fine, everything's okay, no problem, I can do what I want. But I become Kali with others, and I expect them to be following the law. Why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that? And so on and so on and so on. But put things the right way round, And yes, I've killed the demons within through the power that comes from God. And with that, I'm totally clean and pure. And so there's a sweetness and a gentleness that comes with which I'm able to have a connection with others, in which I don't have to tell them what the law is, but they're able to see it in my life, and my relationship with them is based on love. And so you can see the aspects of the love and the truth. For myself, internally, let me be aware of what is true and what is illusion, and be able to take such power from Baba that I'm able to follow the path of truth. And when I do this, I don't need to tell others this is true and this is false, but my life itself is able to demonstrate to others what is truth. And in that state, I'm able to be an instrument just simply to give love. And yes, that's the power with which then not only do I fly, but I'm able to empower others and help them fly also. And so that state of unlimited freedom is based on these two qualities. Think about it differently, and you'll see how when there isn't the relationship of love with others, then what is it based on? It's based on something that's negative within the self. Otherwise, why shouldn't there be love? What is it that's preventing me from being able to be an instrument to share love, God's love? Whatever it is that's inside of me still, whether there's a little bit of incompleteness, a feeling of lack, a feeling of insecurity, a feeling of fear, something missing inside, then that's what's causing the reaction with others. And from the moment that I'm able to connect with Baba and fill myself completely with God's love, then to be able to share God's love with others. And the thing about God's love is that it doesn't discriminate. When it's human love, then it's there for some and not for others. And it's exclusive, 1 or 2 or 4, and this is my group, my friends. And the rest, well, it doesn't matter. But the sense of belonging that comes from the experience of God's love and sharing God's love is quite different. Then there's a sense of inclusiveness with everyone, because you're an instrument sharing that love. And there's no possibility then of any bondage. And so when there's the experience of God's love, that's the power that's setting me free from all the things that have tainted me and created falsehood for me. But also, it's that power which allows me to fly, and then as I share it with others, I'm not creating any bondage in any direction whatsoever. Think about Dadiji, and you'll see how she's the epitome of these two things: the purity, the truth, and the love. Some of you might know Dadi before the days that she got unwell. And here in this very hall, in fact it was the opening of Gyan Srovar, and at that point Dadi was talking to a gathering of very powerful individuals here. The whole hall was packed, but it was powerful political and business leaders and leaders from society from all over India. And she said to them, "I have never spoken a lie in the whole of my life." And they were stunned. And within the gathering was a very powerful lawyer, a very famous lawyer, who'd come from Bombay just for the opening, for the inauguration. And I happened to be sitting next to him. And he looked at me and he said that when Dadi says that, I believe Dadi. When other people say that, I don't believe them. But when Dadi says it, I believe it. And he was very moved by his experience of being here and in that sort of gathering of power. And then it was another sister and myself who were walking down just here to Daddy's cottage. And this sister was telling me that even if we say to Daddy Ji, I'm going to tell you something, but I don't want you to tell so-and-so about it. Daddy Ji is so transparent that you can't even do that. You can tell her whatever, and you can say to Daddy, don't tell so-and-so, but the other person will come in front of her, and if it comes up, then she's not going to consciously think, oh, I mustn't keep this from them. It'll just be very natural for her to say whatever it is, and you'll say it. And then it might cause a problem for you later on, because you didn't want the other person to know. Some of you have had this experience with Daddy Janki. You tell her something, and you tell her, Daddy, don't tell so-and-so. And before you know it, she's made an announcement about it in class. She's talked about it in class. So, such transparency in their hearts that they certainly don't know how to lie, but they don't even know how to hide anything. Whatever is there is open and it's visible and it's, shared. There's nothing hidden at all. I mentioned the daddies, and the daddies share some things in classes that you maybe wouldn't want them to, but Sakar Baba, absolutely transparent. Sometimes we say to Daddy, if you want to correct me, call me aside and tell me privately. Sakar Baba, whatever Baba wanted to say, was in the Murli, with names. The Murlis you get today are edited. They don't carry the names. But the Murlis in Sakar Baba's days carry the names. This. So, and Baba was just sharing the truth. But Baba was also able to give so much love that you knew that what Baba was saying was for your own benefit and was to help you fly. And so, when there's the pure love without anything else in your heart, then the power of truth is also there. And these are, of course, the two qualities of God that have been remembered the most. When there's another situation where I say, but I was just being honest. I was just being truthful. And so I just said very frankly and clearly whatever was in my heart. And I didn't intend to cause them pain, but, they felt the pain, and so that's their problem. It's not mine. I was just being honest. There's a little bit of a problem here, because sometimes when we say we're just being honest and true, then there's an influence of the things that I'm carrying in terms of my own feelings, and those feelings are mixed in. And so what I'm saying may well be the truth, but the way in which I'm saying it isn't out of that spirit of help and upliftment for another. It's filled with all my own negative feelings also. And so that's when it gets a little bit polluted. And so then the truth isn't the wonderful truth that it's meant to be, but the truth is actually polluted because it hasn't been filled with pure love, in which genuinely I'm wanting to help another and help them move ahead. So I'm seeing how if I want total freedom, then Srimat, which is the truth, my relationship with Baba, which is the pure love, and then those two things expressed in my life also, and I'm able to fly. Well, what is that state in which I'm flying and I'm completely free? Well, what is it that I'm free from? Well, one of the things that now we've come to realize is the whole thing about free from my own past habits and my own past negativity. In the sense that before, if somebody got angry, well, you didn't even really think that it was bad or it was wrong. And today, if there's anger, then you know that even if somebody's made a mistake, but if I'm angry about their mistake, then that's my bigger mistake than whatever mistake they have made. And when I come to understand that their mistake is their business and their karma, but my anger is a state of bondage to my own pasts and scars, and I don't want to be in a state of anger. Because when I'm in a state of anger or competition or jealousy or dislike or any of these negative things, it's very destructive for me. I'm not able to feel God's love. When I'm angry, do I feel God's love at that moment? Or when I say, I really don't like this person because of X, Y, Z, and all the things are correct, but the comment that Gandhi had made, blame the sin, not the sinner. And so yes, this person has all these faults, and it's a fact that that's not how it should be. But my dislike of them is a burden for me. And it prevents me from experiencing God's love, coming to understand truth, and being able to fly. And so I think we've come to that stage of maturity where we realize that all aspects of negativity, any aspect of negativity, whatever the trigger is from outside, it's not their fault. Their karma is their karma. But I need to sort myself out. And I'm not going to experience freedom until I've sorted out those things. So negativity in terms of the gross vices, okay, I've understood and I'm trying to deal with that. But negativity in terms of subtle thoughts. Baba made two connections today. Baba said that when you have a negative thought, then that in itself is vikarma, it's a sin. But also Baba said that when you have negative thoughts, then at some point that negative thinking is going to lead you into negative action. And so that negative action definitely then comes into the account of sin. And so negative thoughts are as dangerous as negative actions. I mean, one leads to the other. And so, but it's a big burden. And sometimes if you look at yourself and you say, well, how come? Baba's beautiful expression today in the Murali, that God is the one who's ever happy, and if I'm the son of God, how come I'm not happy? Within the Hindi, all that expression was in English. And I was a little bit surprised that today's Murli contains so many English phrases, so many. But I think Baba knew that, when was that? 1955. This Murli was from 1955, imagine. Half a century ago, exactly. And at that time even, Baba knew that all these children would come and all over the world, not just the ones sitting here, and they'd be hearing the Murali and they'd be wanting to have that direct connection with Baba, even in terms of language. So Baba's saying that if I'm not happy, then it's a lack of faith. And in this case today, Baba was saying the basic aspects of faith. Who is God and who am I? Who is Alpha and who am I? These two things. And with those two things, such deep faith that negativity is removed and I'm able to experience happiness. And if I'm not constantly happy, Baba uses this as a shorthand terminology in which we're able to see, well, happiness is associated with this, this, and this, and this, and this. So you're able to see the connections. And today Baba was making very clear connections. What is it that causes sorrow? Why isn't it that you've been able to go beyond sorrow? It was this negativity. And why was there this negativity? It's because you weren't able to be soul conscious. Different things that Baba was connecting up. But essentially this, that lack of the awareness of the first aspect of truth, I'm a soul, not the body. I forget that, I move away from that consciousness, and all the other things then begin to happen after that. And so in terms of coming to unlimited freedom, freedom from my own negativity, but also today Baba spoke about being so powerful that you're able to actually be free from the influence of somebody else's negativity also. Baba gives me power to be free from my own evil and my own past habits. But usually what happens is that we're moving on the path of spirituality, we're coming to that stage where I say, okay, no more anger, no more dislike, no more attachments. I'm free from those things. But yet still, when we are faced with another Brahman, usually it's another Brahman rather than others outside. With others outside, you make an excuse and say, well, they don't know any better. Anyway, we're the advertisement for Baba's work. And so if I'm saying I go to the Brahma Kumaris, then I have to be able to show, well, what's different between them and me. And so there's a certain amount of attention we pay when dealing with people out there so that they carry away a good impression and a good feeling about who these people are and what the work of God is all about, so that then the door stays open for them to walk in through and learn more. Because if we didn't do that, we'd be shutting the door for them. They would not be interested. You must have come across people, and it happens usually in Lokik life, that one person's coming to Gyan, the other partner is not in Gyan, and they see that there's no change in this person. That this person is saying, I found the truth, but then they're not seeing the visible change in their life. And so that shuts down the door for them to come to Baba, because they say, well, if this is what these people are all about, I want nothing more to do with them. I don't want to study these things. The converse is also true. Where Gyan has brought about such a change, people around you, your Lokiks, say, what's happened? What is it that's changed you? Take me there. I want to find out more. So it's a great advertisement for Baba when you're doing what you need to be doing. And when you're not, it's the other way. But when it's with Brahmins, then we're expecting, our expectation of other Brahmins is that, well, they should have reached a stage in which they're free from negativity, they're free from the vices, they should be stable, they should be the ones who are bestowing and giving. And so, in that sort of situation where it's not happening as I would expect it to happen, the influence of the other person's nature is having an impact on me and is taking me away from the stage that I would like to have of that peace and truth and love that Baba's offering. And so my own habits and nature and sanskars, or the habits and nature of others and their influence on me, and so that's still bondage. I've gone beyond the struggles on the gross level inside, but I'm still influenced by the things that are coming to me from outside. And freedom means being able to choose the stage that I want to be in, with nothing else making me shift from that stage. And so Baba says, immovable, unshakable. Early morning, I connect with Baba, I experience Baba's love, I experience Baba's truth. And that's the stage that I would like to keep with myself throughout the day. Because I know that this is how I'm going to reach my karmatit stage. If through the day things affect me and I don't keep that truth and love, I'm not going to reach that stage. And Bhakti has an interesting way of looking at it. Bhakti says, if you take thousands of years to reach your final destination, it's fine. Just keep going, just keep going, just keep going, it's okay. And Gyan? Gyan doesn't say that. Gyan says there's a very short time. And whatever you want to accomplish, you've been wandering around for thousands of years, so you've been messing around and that's all past. But now, you can't carry on messing around. You can't keep on wandering around. But there's a distance to travel, and there's a time within you have to cover that distance. So the journey between Tamopradhan and Satopradhan can't take forever, for thousands of years. I don't have that sort of time. Satyug will come and I won't be ready. And so Sangam Yuga again puts this whole pressure of time on us, which isn't pressure in any sense of stress, but pressure in the sense that there's greater caution, there's greater attention. You know, when you have to reach your plane or your train on time, you could either call it pressure or you can call it motivation. It can be either. I have to leave my house at such and such a time. And so it's a great motivation for you to tidy up and pack up and sort out things and prepare things so that then, yes, you can leave on time to get your plane or train or whatever. And where there's a feeling of pressure, look at it in the logic sense. I've extended myself so much that I haven't sorted things out, I haven't done my packing, I haven't finished the things I needed to do, and so there's pressure and there's stress. I knew the time of my departure a long time ago, and all I needed to do was to take things gradually, no pressure, no stress, just sort things out a step at a time, keeping in mind the time target, and if I did that properly, then I'm ready. And then there's no pressure. I'm supposed to leave at 10. I leave at 10. Why should that be called pressure? And so when Baba's saying, Sangam Yuga is short, Sat Yuga is coming, it's time for transformation now, Baba's telling us. That's all. Baba's telling us the facts. Can Kali Yuga go on in this condition anymore? I don't think so. And the things just multiply in terms of their intensity, but drama has to come to a conclusion. It's going to finish. And so Baba's not putting stress or pressure on us, but Baba's saying, be aware. You don't have thousands of years, you don't have forever, but you've only got now. And so unlimited freedom means understanding what Baba's saying, following the guidelines, the Srimad that God is showing me, so that then I can have that love and truth in my life with which I fly to that stage in which habits are broken, negativity has no impact on me, either inside myself or through the influence of others. And so in that state of freedom, I have that possibility of being close to God and experiencing my inheritance from God. The state of bondage, neither did I know God, nor did I have any experience of the inheritance from God. There was nothing. And the freedom, everything becomes available. You know, it's like when, on a logic level, somebody gives you a nice fat checkbook and it's already signed and you can go and buy and get the things that you want to get. Freedom, choice, you can choose. It's not that you're restricted in any way. Well, Baba's actually doing the same thing. Baba's giving us total freedom, your choice. How much love do you want? How much power do you want? How much happiness? How many treasures? It's your choice. You have total freedom. You can take as much as you wish to. Nobody else can interfere. Nobody else can stop you. One of the limited ways in which we think is this. We think that because of so-and-so, we're restricted. Because of so-and-so, we don't have a choice. Not true. They are not the problem. It's my own blinkers, my own narrow vision that's not allowing me to see what the possibilities are. Before I can taste unlimited freedom, a gift that I have to be able to take from God is the gift of the unlimited intellect. And that's a major, major tool with which I can reach that state of unlimited freedom. Think about it and you'll see it. Baba uses this word broad and unlimited. And so that stage where it's a broad intellect, I can see whatever it is that's going on. And it's a divine intellect. Not only can I see what's going on, but I know what it is I need to do within this context. Sometimes, people have this broad vision in which they can see many things. They see what's going on here, they see what's going on there, but that's only the first step to be able to see. So something's happening here, but the cause of it isn't actually here. The cause of it is all these other things that are happening all around. That applies on a logic level and an alokik level, in the sense that, okay, so the tsunami happened at Sri Lanka or at Chennai, but why did it happen? How did it suddenly arrive there? And thousands of miles away, 2 hours earlier, maybe 3 hours earlier, something happened in the belt of the earth deep down below the sea, and the earthquake in Indonesia, around Indonesia, caused this wave that hit the whole of Asia 2 hours, 3 hours later. And so we stand back, and whether it's a tsunami of emotions, have you been in one of those? And when there's a tsunami of emotions, it's not just one individual that gets caught up by that. It's 20 people who are hit by that wave, because there's a whole fallout, one person's anger or one person's upset, and it's domino effect, it's hitting everybody. And so, where did the earthquake begin? Goodness knows. But something happened somewhere, and this wave of emotion started hitting everybody around you. And so, what are you going to do? Are you going to be one of the victims or one of the survivors, but so shocked by just seeing what's happening that you're paralyzed? Or are you going to be one of the helpers, one of the ones who can actually reconstruct? Why the tsunami story is so fresh in my mind is because just today I was given it yesterday, and I looked at it today. And within that is a whole description of the tsunami hitting Sri Lanka, but hit Boxing Day, 26 December, and in March, Dr. Nirmala and Ken were invited to go across to join this group of people from Unilever, in particular one individual who's been to Madhuban a couple of times, and he's from Unilever Asia Food, and the director there. And so he took all his Asia leaders to Sri Lanka, where for 2 days they helped in the actual physical reconstruction, and then they had a chance to travel around also, but then they had a few days of reflection. And they called the Brahma Kumaris in to help them conduct that period of reflection and meditation and silence, because their understanding, and one individual makes a difference for so many. There's one individual saying that, well, what leaders of today need is spirituality. And it's spirituality that can give us the vision with which to be able to serve. Because leadership and service, you can actually put these together. It's the one, and not just one, but it's the one and the other together. A server is a leader is a server, and you can't be the one without the other. And so in that context of where they started to serve and started to do all of this, they said that we got to a place, and this happened repeatedly in all the different places. They got to a place and the debris was still there in March from December, and they couldn't understand why people hadn't done something about it. And then they looked into the eyes of the people, and they saw that there was such trauma, that these people had experienced such pain, that they were paralyzed. They couldn't do anything. And then this group of people coming in and going with that intention of serving and not giving lectures, but they actually started lifting the debris, started lifting all the bricks and mortar and all the things that had fallen, started cleaning up. And at first there'd be people just watching them. Then they'd start interacting with these people. And as they interacted, those people started to share their stories of their pain and their sorrow. They needed to speak, they needed to share. And that released them. And then they started to help. And so it was just 1 hour of listening. But that 1 hour of listening took away the paralysis, and everybody joined in. And then, of course, the work went so quickly in a day and a half that within 2 days, kitchens were built, all sorts of things happened, and there was, but more than that, there was a whole new energy and a wave that had come up that was going to now create the reconstruction and do everything that was needed. And so that's a story that's very fresh in my mind, but I'm relating it both on the external level, but also on the inner level. That somebody with a broad intellect, you step back and you see, well, this is happening here. This is all the emotional stuff that's going on. But you're able to see where it started, why it's happening. You're also able to see what the outcome is going to be. But it's not enough just to see. You also need to be able to say, yes, I'm seeing the truth. But I also need to have the power of love. I need to be able to do something and help within that situation, and definitely not just be a victim and caught up within it myself, and also not so paralyzed that I'm so shocked at everybody's behavior that I just say, what's going on? I don't know how to help. And I get, into that state where I lose hope and I say there's nothing I can do about it. No, the broad vision, see, but also power from Baba, so that then I'm able to do something about it. So that divinity in the intellect. And one of the aspects of the divine intellect that Baba teaches us, and I see Dadi really take that up as her mantra, what is it that I must do? It's a very different situation to pointing a finger and saying, you have to do this. What is it that I must do? I, as a child of God, I, as a trainee angel, I, as an instrument for God, what is it that I must do? And so, transformation, in terms of not allowing the emotions and the natures of others to influence me, but yet still not disengaged, not disconnected and shutting myself away, but being able to give a positive contribution at that time, to be able to serve in the way Baba wants me to serve. There was a very powerful definition I heard that he gave of freedom here in Gyan Sarovar maybe 3-4 years ago. And it was so powerful that it stayed in my mind ever since. And she said, freedom is where nobody can make you do something which is wrong, but also freedom is where nobody can stop you from doing that which is right. Both of it. Sometimes I say that, well, I didn't actually want to do this, but I was pushed into it because of this, and this. But freedom. I have my own choice of what stage it is I want to maintain. So nobody should be able to make me do that which I don't want, and afterwards I have regret. But equally, freedom is where nobody can stop me from doing that which I know is right. I want to do this, and this, and especially in Madhuban, we have unlimited dreams, both in terms of self as well as service. This is what I'd like to do. And Baba's saying, well, you can. Who's stopping you? No one's stopping you. And so, especially before the new year, I'm very glad we've had this opportunity to meet together for class the day before Baba comes, because then Baba offers everything. And so tomorrow night, I'm sure, again, Baba's going to offer you everything, absolutely. But within that, up to you to choose and take whatever it is you want to take from Baba, so that the new year really is a new year, a new beginning, a new chapter. It's been a long time since I've been in Madhuban for New Year's Day. In fact, I think maybe it was, the last time was 5-6 years ago, and even that happened. Destiny, chance, it just happened. But especially now, I was feeling that, especially to be in Madhuban for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, is really a very, very powerful motivation and a lot of empowerment to really start the year in the way that I would like it to be. To have a clear vision of what it is I want for myself, that's freedom. To be able to have that vision with clarity, and then to take from Baba all that I need to make that vision a reality through the coming year. And so I think it's a wonderful opportunity that all of us have to be able to do that and choose. Unlimited freedom is being able to see the whole of the drama and choose your own role within the drama, and to even write your own script for the drama. Possible? Baba's making it possible, and Baba's saying, well, this is on offer. You can choose what you want to be. And Baba specified it, and maybe I would choose a different language. Maybe I wouldn't use the word subjects and kings and queens, but maybe I'd choose some other language, but whatever. But that's the point that Baba's making. You can choose your own role and write your own script for the whole of the drama only at Sangam Yuga. Sangam Yuga runs out, the choice is over. You fixed your choice for the whole of the kalpa, wittingly or unknowingly. Because part of the aspect of freedom is not just choice, but you can say to somebody, well, you had choice, why didn't you make your choice? But they didn't know what their choices were. They were in the bondage of ignorance, and so they weren't even aware of what their choices were. And if you look back through the kalpa, that's been a factor. Did I even know that there were choices that I had? I didn't. Society was heading in this direction, and I thought that that's what I had to do also. And so, whether it was a very narrow choice or a little bit broader choice, but very little choice. And then Gyan means knowledge, insight, the awakening, in which I can see what's on offer, what is it that God is offering me, and being able to see all of that, then I can make my choice. I wanted to talk a little bit further about freedom in the sense of Brahman life, particularly, in that sometimes when we come to Baba, we have this feeling that my Lokik family is bondage, or that my Lokik job is bondage, or that even the situation of service, I'm in a center and I've been given a particular responsibility, and we feel this is bondage and we want to be free. And that's very interesting because freedom isn't a question of not doing something. But like today Baba said, I'm with my Lokik family. What is the vision with which I see them? Is it that godly vision? And if it's that spiritual vision, no bondage. These are souls that I have to serve. Out there I'd be serving, so why not here? And so service, really to see it in that way. But where I react and reject, then of course I'm actually creating karma, and I'm creating more bondage and not giving myself the opportunity for the freedom that my heart longs for. Lokik family is not bondage. It's my attitude towards it that creates the bondage. Lokik job. Again, I think many of you may have been through the soul searching and the heart searching in the context of this. And you've also perhaps seen situations where a person says, no, I don't want to do Lokik job. In some countries, not in all, but in some countries you can live off social security and take from the government. And wherever I've seen anybody do that, I haven't seen them make good use of their time and energy. Their time and energy just goes. And so, in fact, they're again, in that situation, creating more karma, where they said, this was bondage, I want to be free. But it's not freedom. They're adding to their karmic burden and their bondage, which is why then they don't feel happy, and which is why then they're not actually using time in a worthwhile way. But my job, Baba's often told those from foreign lands that it's your fortune. It's your fortune, not even just in the sense of earning an income and having the freedom to be able to do what you want with your life through financial freedom. When you have financial freedom, you don't realize that the other side of the picture is a very, very difficult state of bondage, and you don't always appreciate it. But okay, so yes, it's financial freedom. It's also the possibility of using what I have for God's work so that many others can be served, and so good fortune, good karma. But also, I've seen more people grow, mature more quickly in Lokik work than I have seen in any other situation. That's a fact. Why? Because there's an external discipline that you have to follow. And if you don't follow, you're out. It's as simple as that. There's, it's harsh, but it's true. It teaches you. You either learn and you grow, or you don't learn and you sit on your backside. And so it's an incredible learning curve. And I'm not just talking about learning in terms of skills. What I've seen is the maturity of relationships that happens through people in that situation. And so it isn't bondage, but it's an opportunity to grow and an opportunity to create more fortune. Service. I've got lots of Daddy Jayanti stories, naturally. But when Daddy was first surrendered and she was told she had to go and stay with these Matajis who were all together in a house, she felt a little bit disappointed because what she wanted to do was to go and stay with the Kumaris. But she was told she had to go stay with the Matajis. And her face was a little bit crestfallen, and Daddy Kumarka saw her and said, "Janak, what's the matter?" They knew each other from Lokik life before, so they were friends anyway. And said, "What's the matter? I thought you wanted to be here. Your heart's desire is fulfilled. You're surrendered." And, but I thought I was going to be with the Kumaris and I'm with the mothers. And Daddy Kumarka saying to her, and it was only once that she had to learn that lesson, and she's never changed it. She's always then fulfilled that lesson. Wherever Baba has put you, it's for good reason. It's for your benefit. We need to be told this 10 times a day sometimes, or at least 10 times a year. But Daddy needed to be told once in 70 years, and that was enough. And what happened through that was, because the Matajis were Matajis, and she was physically a Mataji, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, she wasn't. When Baba would come, they would go on a rota basis, and different people would go to hear Baba wherever Baba was speaking, because they weren't officially allowed to hold gatherings, various reasons in history. And so then not everybody could go, it wasn't possible. 1 or 2 would be nominated to go, and then it would go on a rota. But what they found was that every time Daddy Jayanti went, and she was just surrendered a few weeks, months, every time she went, she'd come back with such treasures she was sharing with everybody. And so everybody benefited, not just the 2 people who had gone, but her going meant that everybody benefited. And so next time they said to her, "But you have to go, because if you go, you'll come and share with everybody and we'll all take benefit." And she was given a role of teacher in that way that nobody else in the yajna had. Baba was a teacher, Mama was a teacher, but nobody, even Mama, it was, with the Kumaris and that sort of chit-chat, it wasn't lectures. And here again, it wasn't a lecture, she was just sharing, but she was given that role of being an instrument, because she accepted with love where Baba put her and did the duty that Baba had given her, but she did it with a different awareness and a different consciousness. next duty was as nurse. And a little bit I thought, by now it wasn't even in words or on her face, it was just a little bit in her mind, that my own health isn't so strong. How can I be the nurse and look after everybody? It meant like not just, putting a little bit of Band-Aid, but nursing in those times in the house they were living in, you had to carry buckets of hot water. There was no running hot water in the rooms. So you carried buckets of hot water for the patients from downstairs to 3 flights upstairs. You got them up, you got up at 2 o'clock, so that then you could get them ready for 3 o'clock, so that you'd given them their medication, wash them, clean them, so that they'd be ready for Amrit Vela, because Baba would come and give drishti. And then you had to go cook whatever special things it is they wanted. So it was running around. It was hard physical work. It wasn't just, writing out a prescription. It was doing. And so there was, I've told you in detail, but her thought was, well, my own health isn't so strong. How am I going to nurse all these other people? And again, Mama this time saying to her, if Baba gives a task, Baba also gives the power with which to fulfill the task. And the amount she has learned about karma philosophy, human relationships, Baba's love, Baba's support, Baba's guidance came because of that role, because it was constantly one-to-one connection with Baba. 3 patients, 5 patients, 8 patients, it was hotline to Baba. This is what's going on with them. And Baba telling her, well, the reason why this is going on is because of X, Y, and Z. And Baba would talk about the external factors, but Baba would also then give her an insight into the internal factors. Sometimes the medicine was just simply pulao and pickle. Baba would prescribe the medicine and say, this one, all they need is cook some nice pulao and give them some nice hot pickle. That's what they need. And she would give them that and they'd be better. Sometimes it was just TLC, just tender loving care. But Baba would also say to her, no, don't do this for this one. Let their daughter do this for this one. Even though in the yajna there were no Lokik relationships, but in one case Baba said, no, let their Lokik daughter come and do this for this one. Because you shouldn't be doing this for them, because there'll be further karma on their head and they'll get more sick. So you don't do it, you call the Lokik daughter to come and do it. Now, there's histories and histories that Daddy has shared in her classes. But that role for 11 years of the yajna gave her that direct insight into the way in which Baba sees things and understands things and resolves things. And so a personal training in the whole subject of karma and how to resolve karma. So if at any time, whatever is the role that's being given in service feels a little bit of a burden, and there's a sense, why do I have to do this? Why can't somebody else do this? I'm creating bondage. But if I have this awareness, Baba has put me here for my benefit, for my fortune, and let me see what is the fortune in this. And then that service role is truly the door for unlimited fortune. And so you can see how in any external situation that I'm in, I can either use it with understanding and choice to create freedom, or I can take it in the sense of, this is awful, this is bondage, and so what can I do about it, and become a victim. And so we become a victim only through our own consciousness. Nobody can make us a victim, not in Sangam Yuga. Drama and karma and bondage in Kali Yuga, and those are different stories. But in Sangam Yuga, total freedom. But I have to understand, you only acquire freedom when you know how. And so Gyan is the way to freedom. And to use Gyan at all times is the pathway that allows me to stay always free and reach that state where karmic accounts are over and there's nothing but God's inheritance with me. I get a sense that I'm only starting the subject, and I hope that you'll continue to explore it in terms of your own personal situation, whatever. But you'll find that Baba has given you answers already. You don't even need to go ask somebody a question. Baba has given you the answers. Enjoy the rest of your Madhuban stay. And if I don't get a chance to meet you, enjoy Baba's meeting tomorrow and a very, very happy and beautiful year to come. Om Shanti.